The next day, just as I stepped outside with Ivy to leave for her school and my workplace, my former boss appeared out of nowhere, his face contorted with rage. "You think you can escape me, Peter? Never. I'll kill you and that little dimwit because you don't deserve to be happy. We just lost a major deal because we couldn't find someone quickly enough to fill your position. I tried for years to have a child, but my wife divorced me because of my infertility issues. And here you are, rubbing your daughter in my face every day. But I'm not the cause of your issues. Just dare say that again, you." My instinct kicked in once I saw a knife in his hand. I quickly grabbed Ivy and bolted back into the house, slamming the door shut as I locked it. "And you coward. Open the door, I'll make you pay for this." I was both afraid and angry. I didn't want Ivy to see or hear any of this, so I hurried her to the back of the house, out of sight and earshot. He started attacking my car, smashing the windows and kicking the doors. I have dealt with an unfair boss, particularly one who knew he could get away with his actions because he was a family member of the company owner. It was a frustrating and demoralizing experience. My name is Peter, and I have a 7-year-old daughter named Ivy. After Ivy's mother passed away following her birth, I was left to navigate the world as a single father. It was just a year after our wedding, and the weight of her absence was unbearable. My parents and my late wife's parents did their best to support me through that dark time, but there was little anyone could do to fill the void left by her death. For the first 2 years after Ivy was born, she stayed with my parents and her mom's parents. They provided a loving environment, but I knew I had to step in as her father. I didn't want her to grow up feeling like she had lost both her mother and her father. When she turned 4, I decided it was time for me to take over. I wanted her to feel my love and presence, not just the love of her grandparents. Unfortunately, things took a turn when I lost my job when Ivy was 6. I had been fortunate enough to find a good position that helped me care for Ivy, but the company went bankrupt, leaving all of us workers scrambling for new opportunities. I had enough savings to keep us afloat for a couple of months, but I knew I needed to find work quickly. After 2 months of searching, I was relieved to land a new job. The pay was decent and the people seemed kind. However, my optimism was short-lived, as I soon learned that my manager had a different agenda. From the moment he discovered I was a single father, he made it a point to make my life miserable. One day, I received a call from Ivy's school informing me that she had fallen ill and needed to be picked up. I rushed to inform my manager, hoping for a little understanding. Instead, he said, "You know, Peter, some of us are here to work, not to play house. You need to prioritize your job. Right now, you must choose between your job or that miserable personal life of yours." I had to call my sister, who rushed down to the school to pick Ivy up and took care of her. I felt so bad not being able to be there for my daughter, but I also didn't want to be a bad employee. Another incident occurred shortly after. I had worked hard to meet a project deadline, staying late and putting in extra hours to ensure everything was perfect. On the day of the presentation, I was confident and proud of what I had accomplished. Yet, during the meeting, my manager pointed out a minor error I had made, then ridiculed me in front of my colleagues. "Maybe if you spent less time worrying about your little girl and more time on your work, you wouldn't make such silly mistakes." His words haunted my mind, making me question my worth, both as an employee and a father. It felt like he was trying to break me, using my role as a single father against me. The weight of his unfair treatment was overwhelming, but I knew I had to stay strong for Ivy. I just hoped I could find a way to make things right. I faced a string of other unfair situations that made it increasingly difficult to navigate my new job. Each encounter with my manager left me feeling more defeated and frustrated. Another time, I was working on a group project that required collaboration with my team. My manager assigned the project without considering the workload of each member. As the deadline approached, I noticed that I was doing the lion's share of the work, while my colleagues seemed to be lazying. When I brought it up during a team meeting, hoping for some support, my manager dismissed my concerns outright. "That's just a flimsy excuse. I don't care who does what in the group work. All I need are great results." I could feel the eyes of my colleagues on me, some sympathetic, others judging. I wanted to scream in frustration. How could he not see that I was trying to balance work with my responsibilities at home? Things escalated when he made a direct attack on my parenting. One afternoon, I received a call from my daughter's doctor, urging me to bring her in for a checkup. I explained to my manager that I needed to leave early, and his response left me feeling both angered and humiliated.
You should think about whether you want to be a father or an employee. This isn't a daycare. Got it?
How could he be so heartless? Ivy was just a child who needed her father, and here I was being treated like an idiot for wanting to take care of her health. It was not like I was going against the company's rules. In fact, I had every right to leave once it was about family, but my manager had dared me to try disobeying him. Of course, I couldn't do that. As the weeks passed, I began to feel the cumulative weight of my manager's behavior. The stress seeped into my personal life. I noticed Ivy picking up on my mood. She would often ask if I was sad. I hated that my work life was affecting her happiness. One evening, I decided to stay late to catch up on the backlog of work my manager had created by piling on responsibilities while undermining my efforts. And I thought that if I could just show him my dedication, he might finally recognize my hard work. Instead, he walked in and found me alone in the office.
You really should think about whether this job is worth it. After all, your daughter can't provide for you when you're out of work.
It was a thinly veiled threat, and yeah, it struck a nerve deep within me. I left the office that night feeling utterly defeated. I had endured weeks of torment and intimidation, and it was becoming increasingly clear that my boss had no intention of stopping. Each day, I felt like I was walking on eggshells, trying to balance the demands of work with the love and care I wanted to give Ivy. I couldn't shake the feeling that my manager was actively trying to push me out. But no matter how unfairly I was treated, I knew I had to keep going for Ivy. One morning, I arrived at the office to find a pile of work on my desk that my manager had assigned me overnight without any warning. When I approached my manager to ask about prioritizing tasks, expecting a reasonable conversation, he just laughed.
You really think you can juggle all this and be a good father at the same time? It's nice that you believe you can do both. But let's be honest, your daughter deserves better than a dad, not you who can't even manage his job.
His words cut deep, as if he had intentionally aimed for my heart. I couldn't shake the feeling of humiliation, and all I wanted was to be a good father for Ivy, not just an employee trying to make ends meet. I left, swallowing my anger, but the pressure continued to mount. A few days later, I received an unexpected call from Ivy's school. She had hurt her ankle during recess and needed to be picked up. I rushed to inform my manager, hoping he would understand. Instead, he refused.
You're not going to try leaving again for your little girl, are you? Maybe it's time you realize that being a father is a choice you made. Your responsibilities here should come first, young man.
Again, I called my sister, who immediately stepped in to help. The following week, however, my manager's cruelty escalated to a level I could no longer tolerate. During a team meeting, he deliberately brought up my daughter, mentioning her as an excuse for my work performance, which wasn't even bad.
Honestly, Peter, if you spent as much time focusing on your job as you do worrying about your little girl, maybe we wouldn't be in this mess. She's not the one who pays your bills.
Anger filled my whole body. How dare you talk about my daughter like that? You have no idea what it's like to be a single parent. She is my world, and I will never apologize for caring for her. The moment the words left my mouth, I knew I had crossed a line, but I was done being treated like a second-class citizen. I quit. I refused to work under a bully who doesn't understand the value of family. I have a daughter who needs a father, and I will not sacrifice my self-worth for this job any longer. As I walked out of the meeting room, I knew I had made the right decision for both myself and Ivy. The toxic environment was no longer my burden to bear, and I vowed to find a place where I could be a good father and a respected employee. After a month of searching, I finally landed a new job that filled me with relief and happiness. What struck me the most was the flexibility offered by my new employer. My boss, Sarah, was not only understanding, but also encouraged me to prioritize my responsibilities as a single father. Each day, I could drop Ivy off at school and pick her up afterward, something I had missed during my time with my old boss. However, this newfound happiness took an unexpected turn when Sarah called me into her office one afternoon and told me something shocking.
Your old boss visited me today. He made some serious accusations against you. He's claiming you'd been stealing from the company, that you'd been involved in fights, and that you've been lying about your work performance.
That's outrageous. I've never done anything like that. Why would he make those accusations? I was so relieved when Sarah calmed me down and told me that she didn't believe my former boss's words. In fact, we'd both made fun of his stupidity and laughed over it. The next day, just as I stepped outside with Ivy to leave for her school and my workplace, my former boss appeared out of nowhere, his face contorted with rage.
You think you can escape me, Peter? Never. I'll kill you and that little dimwit because you don't deserve to be happy. We just lost a major deal because we couldn't find someone quickly enough to fill your position. I tried for years to have a child, but my wife divorced me because of my infertility issues. And here you are, rubbing your daughter in my face every day.
But I'm not the cause of your issues.
Just dare say that again, you...
My instinct kicked in once I saw a knife in his hand. I quickly grabbed Ivy and bolted back into the house, slamming the door shut as I locked it.
And you coward. Open the door, I'll make you pay for this.
I was both afraid and angry. I didn't want Ivy to see or hear any of this, so I hurried her to the back of the house, out of sight and earshot. He started attacking my car, smashing the windows and kicking the doors. I quickly grabbed my phone and called the police, my hands shaking as I reported the assault. Within minutes, the police arrived. They apprehended my former boss, who continued to shout threats even as they handcuffed him.
You think this is over? You're going to regret this.
As the news of his arrest spread throughout the office, I received messages of support from my former colleagues. Many expressed their happiness at finally seeing him face consequences for his actions. Several employees stepped forward, agreeing to testify about his mistreatment and bullying. The court proceedings followed quickly, and my old boss was sentenced to jail for his violent behavior and abuse to workers. The judge also ordered him to pay for the damages he had caused to my car. I felt vindicated. The company also fell because workers began to resign when they employed a new manager who was the younger brother of the former one. By the end of the year, the company had closed down, and my former boss had been transferred to a different prison because he was being severely bullied by other inmates after they learned of his crimes. We even heard that sometimes the other inmate will take his food, and he had grown very thin. I guess the bully finally got bullied? Life does come around as it goes. Ivy is 15 now, and we've been living happily. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.